Go ahead.
Okay, good morning, everybody. I'm glad you were able to get here this morning. This morning we've got Donna Slaton, and she's the author of Beagle Plays, and we're excited to hear what you have to say this morning, so I'll give you the floor.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. This is an adventure. I was retired as a public librarian, and then I spent 5 years behind the wire as a prison librarian, and I retired again. And somebody said, "Are you retired twice?" I said, "No, but I will be eventually." Excited because I finally had time to do what I wanted to do and the way I wanted to do it. So while I have been involved as an entrepreneur through the family farm for 36 years, I've been married to Donna Slaton, and learning the crop and the simple premise that equipment, seeds, and plans go before income is a lifestyle. It's a basic, whether you're in town or you're out. So the outlay comes first. How much are you willing to put into it? Because that's exactly how much you get out. It works on the family farm, it works everywhere else you are. The times when I was not working at a public library, I generally always found something extra to do, even though I had, at one time, for children under 3, was always an active volunteer in something. That creates the networking where you hear all these ideas and you want to do something with them. And I've been blessed with good health and really good power of energy. So I use that every time that I can. Now, last week Ron Sanders said something about his failures. Well, I had a little bitty ABC button factory back when copiers were new and computers were new, and I made 500 hot pink buttons for Deborah Helsley for her first selection as county court clerk. That was the biggest order that I ever had of that. My personal drive in that one was to create photo buttons to sell to the state parks, because there were so many souvenirs that were made somewhere else, and I just thought they ought to be made in Kentucky. Well, that was before Kentucky Proud and before a lot of other things. But parents' health, children's activities, my husband's demands, all that kind of crunched into the extra stuff. So I did a few craft shows, and I did clubs and things like that. And then everybody got printers. And the ability to do the graphic arts ahead of everybody else was one of those things that passed away by time. So I still had the machine, and I would have friends who would say, "Can you make me some?" But it wasn't a viable business, hobby, anything other than, where are all the parts now, kind of thing. And trying to do things like that from home when you have multiple other demands kind of gets in the way of what you want to do with it. So the Made in Kentucky thing never happened, but it finally got made in Kentucky, or at least created in Kentucky. After I retired, librarian's dream is always to get in the card catalog, not just to fix it. Well, I didn't make it. We don't have card catalogs anymore. We have OPACs, online public access catalogs. But I'm in the OPAC. I'm in the Library of Congress. I've got a copyright, and I'm excited. I wrote this story in February in the snow about a real beagle. Ben exists. If you friend me on Facebook, you can see a whole lot of stories about Ben, because he's a large part of our life. And my husband and I had been to the Grand Ole Opry for our anniversary, and I'm sitting there thinking, all these old men can tell stories in song, in rhyme. Why have you not done this yet? Your time has come. Get on the stick, woman, and do something about it. So, as a business thing, in terms of What do you do about it? Do you wait for some New York publishing house to say, oh yes, I really, really want that book? Or do you do something about it yourself? Well, 50 years ago, it would have been vanity publishing if you printed your own book, whether you sold it or not. There was a little girl in my 4th and 5th grade class named Jill Brooks. Her grandfather owned Brooks Bus Line in Paducah. She wrote a cute little story, and he fixed her 100 hardbound books. And he could afford to do that back then. They didn't sell a single one of them. It was just one of those things that happened. But did I get book envy at that point? No, because I was the teacher's aide at the school library. And the library had so many books, and they were all just as much mine as they were Jill's. So I have been a librarian of some kind since 5th grade. Dedication in this book is to my elementary school librarian, and I am going in February to do a program for their whole school and present the book there. Timing at Christmas was not the best plan, but I pushed and plugged it. I finally got it done, and I'm fully understanding that at 62 or any other age in this world, we're not promised tomorrow. I didn't want to put it on some long-range time schedule that said I might not see it happen. So I said, let's go as fast as we can go. We'll deal with it. The publication date, according to Amazon, is January 1, 2016. That's technically when they release it, and this is pre-pub copy. It is on Amazon now. You can purchase it through my publisher as a third-party seller on Amazon, but they have not picked it up as their inventory and won't until January. That's the way those things go. If you order it direct from my website, you get an author-signed copy. If you order it from anybody else, you won't get an author-signed copy. Some people that won't matter, but a lot of places it will. I belong to several state and national professional organizations, storytelling and librarians. So there are people from North Carolina to California who have a signed copy in their hand right now. And somebody asked if I would read it. I am going to read it because it doesn't take long, but I want you to see something about it before I tell you the other decisions that have to be made. You have to plant the seed. You have to nourish it. You have to spend money on it before you get it. And you have to make decisions. You have to plan for the weather. The weather impacts not only the farmers, but last winter it impacted a whole lot of businesses around here. It impacts a lot of people, a lot of places, so you have to plan for that. I'm full of platitudes because I grew up living on Ben Franklin. He started the first lending library in America, and he was the inspiration for a lot of things I do because he was 70 years old when he was at the Continental Congress. There's no time to quit doing what you want to do, making the world a better place. And my passion has always been to make reading fun, because when it's fun, people do it. So I hope you enjoy Ben Beagle Plays, and then I'll tell you about some other parts of the book. Ben the Beagle lives on a farm in a nice little doghouse to keep himself warm. His special area included a tree. He would sit on a root, look around, and see what and who was passing by and talk to them. Books with sound effects are very, very cool. Squirrel in the tree above, bird in the sky, family coming in and out the door. That's me. The cat washing his leg and more. The cardinal that flew high away from the cat. The fat frog that jumped in a puddle. Splat. The wren that nested in the porch rafter. The basset hound Frank, who caused his people such laughter. The coonhounds, Katie and Kelly in the pen, jumping and bouncing again and again. Just across the driveway beyond the truck and tractor was the play place that Ben Beagle always longed after. And each time he was released to play, straight to the thicket he ran first to say, "Brr, brr, brr." Somewhere inside that thicket, you see, was a rabbit munching, as quiet as can be. When Ben went brr, the rabbit ran, and that was when the chase began. Beagles are hunters by nature, you see, so chasing rabbits was meant to be. Ben never catches, he only chases. His people love his joyful voice when he races. Brr, brr, brr. When he comes home from a long run, going in the kitchen for a treat is much fun. Then just like you, a cuddle in a chair, a nap with his people is Ben's to share. Finishes up with a soft, ready to go to bed, take a nap. And my husband can take a nap any time of the day or night, so there's no time limit on this particular kind of nap. Chose Heart to Heart Publishing out of Morgantown. Linda Hopkins has been publishing for a little over 14 years, I think. When I was at the Muhlenberg County Public Libraries from 2000 to 2007, she had a book about Alexander and the food fight, which she had published by an out-of-state company, and she noticed in her first publishing venture that when you go that far, you lose some control over what you wanted your book to say and do, and when you are not financially in control of the situation, you lose percentages. Well, everybody has a wholesale price and a retail price for everything. You all are very familiar with that. But when you have put your heart and soul into something and more than 55% of it goes to somebody else all the time, it gets very, very frustrating. When you buy this from Amazon, I will get less than 45% of every copy that's sold. When you buy it from me, I get the full price. I have to pay Kentucky sales tax. I had to sign up for Square Pay. I learned a lot of things that I had not had to do because in different aspects, I worked for Walmart third shift. I worked for Landstar Ligon in accounts receivable. I've done budgets for years in the library, but you learn something new and you learn the technology changes. So it's constantly been something new to learn. But when you take this on, if you commission the artist, and this was the way we did it because some people do it different, when you commission the artist, they illustrate your story the way you want it illustrated. If you don't commission the artist, if the publisher does, they can take your cute little words and make it a platform either for their art to win an award or for them to make it a social statement of some kind that you never meant to happen. I chose the typeface because it's the one I basic. You see the difference between the A there and almost all the books that you see this day and time? That's the one the little kids learn to write. That's the A that you print. It's not the A of the typewriter. Made a world of difference to me, so I chose the font for that reason. As a librarian, I wanted certain things to happen in my book. I wanted the words to be more important than the pictures, and I wanted the pictures to enhance the words so that when the child reads, the fat frog jumped in the puddle, splat, that you saw the frog and the puddle, and it helps to learn reading when it's not a op art piece on the page and the writing is in white and it's kind of weird shaped because at 7:30 at night in Grandma's lap, neither one of them are going to get as much fun out of the story if they're just looking at the pictures and they have to kind of figure out what it says. There's a world of difference in how you plan these things out. So going with a self-assisted publishing experience, which means that I invested some money up front, I paid the artist, so now these pictures are mine. If I want to make t-shirts with a frog on, that's my make t-shirts with a frog on. I can design a toy with that one and sell it later. And now I'm not getting into Mattel and all that other kind of stuff right now, but I do have friends that are crafters. If they make things that go with it and sell, there are people in Linda's publishing group that order toys from China that go along with the books that they sold, and they sell them. That's not me. You can also have your book printed in China cheaper. That's not me. My daughter spent a year in Iraq. No part of this thing had anything to do with China. And it won't for book 2 and book 3. Mark Adams is a good friend of mine. I think he's been here to speak. He has a totally different style, but I went to workshops that he's done, and I could have asked him to illustrate. But he does a cartoon style, and I wanted the feel of the old Golden Book, the cuddly one, to introduce Ben, because cuddling is what Ben does when he's not chasing rabbits. And I also wanted the bunny rabbit to be not a cartoon bunny rabbit, but one that children could identify with. The same with the cardinal and things like that. If you look out your window, most of these animals are realistic. But we had to have that discussion again more than once with this artist, because more people do fantasy or cartoons right now than they do realism. But that was my point from my story, and because I commissioned the artist, the publisher and the artist worked within those boundaries. Had I not done that, it would not have turned out quite the same way. There are lots of things to think about. One of Mark's suggestions was that when you're a new author, you get about 2 weeks like this at the bookstore, Barnes & Noble or anywhere, and then they stick you in like this, if they've still got you there at all. So what's on this part matters just as much as what's on this part. So if you put number 1 here, they're expecting number 2 and 3. Those are things that you do, you study, whatever it is you're going to do, and you get to it. I was told to go to bookstores and go to libraries and see what was in. Right after my mom passed away, I wanted to write a book on senior caregiving. I had some particular situations with her, and I thought they would help someone else. But there was an explosion of that right after that time period. So from here, it wouldn't have marketed well, because they were marketing those in New York. Everybody has parent problems at some point in time, and then we become the parent problems at some point in time. So there's lots of self-help books about that. Then I wanted to write one about American history, and yes, we are a Christian nation. But there was an explosion about that at the same time. I went to bookstores and libraries. There's Labradors, Pugs, and Dachshunds everywhere. Right now, Ben's a standout. There's not a Beagle anywhere. So he could take the world by storm. I would absolutely love it if he did. One of the veterinary techs told me, "What's not to like about a beagle?" Made good, perfect sense to me. What's not to like about a beagle? I have a friend who's working on a stuffed animal for me that will be very simple. And one of the things that Mark did was on the inside of the back cover, this is called a jacket in library lingo, book lingo. And it's one of those telling tales. If you plan to sell it to schools and libraries, if you just publish that without this, you're probably not going to do it. It's one of those, like the difference between a Camaro and a Cadillac kind of thing, okay? But he took the inside and put a pattern in there because he wanted people to make something to go with the book. Lots of teachers will take into that. Lots of grandmothers will take into that. When you sell it to an individual child at home, 90% of them will not make this paper cover last. But schools and libraries want it. They want it for protection, they want to encase it in the plastic, they want to put, it's an extra expense. But if you're going Cadillac style instead of your basic, then that's what you gotta do. The designer, and this is the other thing that I learned the hard way. This was a photograph submitted to a couple of artists to get a sample. This part is not in the book anywhere, but it was the audition picture. She nailed it. You see his cute little face? When he was little, he dumped his toys out and set in the basket. And I had the photograph. I sent that to more than one. Well, it's been noticed more than one. I have a friend of my son's who they really wanted to do the book, but he'd never done a book before, and I'd never done a book before, so the publisher didn't recommend that. Donna has done several books. She's printed some of those Bradford Exchange prints, besides having her large art, so she's established in a way that would help that book out. And both of us being brand new might not be the thing, but I went back to Brandon and said, I want a coloring and activity book, and I know you can do it. We'll lead on. Brandon Lee graduated from North Hopkins in 2005. He has his own design business in Nashville, and my twins were absolutely on the mark. This is the real Ben. A little bit more realistic, a little bit older. So now, it's probably not going to be as attractive to the 3-year-old, even with color in it, as it is some of the others. You live and learn. I told him I wanted one of those pictures where you draw the numbers. You have to go back and edit sometimes. He put 50 numbers up here. Okay, I'm thinking 3 to 9-year-olds, there was no room for them to draw between numbers because he had so many numbers on there. He's thinking technical. He wanted the ups and downs. And I'm going like, no, little kids want to get from here to there all on their own. So we had to cut back 20 of the numbers. You have to edit and edit. The day that this book went to print, we edited 7 times back and forth by email and telephone before it finally went to print. Catching this, that, and the other, commas, capitals, whatever. I have not seen a mistake yet, but that doesn't mean somebody else won't see one. But we worked really, really hard. She had sent it to a designer, she'd sent it to an editor, and Jean Merrill, who's here, had gone through, she's a reading specialist, and she'd gone through my rhyme. And you can be improved on no matter what you do. She found a couple of places where it flowed better if I used a 1-syllable word than a 2-syllable word, and she helped me with the right word to fit, because she wanted it to succeed. So, in the process of doing that, you have to get endorsements on the back. So, I have Mayor Mickey DeMoss, who took my sons rabbit hunting when they were little, and he's a grandfather, and a guy, because all the other endorsements were ladies. Beagles are happiest when their noses are full of rabbit scents, and Ben is a happy beagle. Ben Beagle Plays is a good read for hunters of all ages. Okay? So we changed the audience here. Okay? If you like rabbits, rabbit hunting, and dogs, you don't have to be 3 to 9. Some people will just buy the book because it's got a beagle in it. There's a lady in Athens, Alabama who wants it just because the basset's in there about 2 times. And one of them he's upside down, but she has a basset. She loves bassets, and she gets anything basset. So she's buying Ben Beagle because he has a basset friend. So I don't care why, she's just doing it. I have one of these for each one of you to take home today. Yes, it's an advertising tool. In addition to the fact that it is a coloring book, Brandon did something that Donna Brooks couldn't do because he knows my husband and he knows Ben. And we kind of had a laugh about that because Linda Hopkins has her husband in a book. Norris and Ray both work for Armstrong Coal, operating big equipment, so Ray's in a cookbook and a children's book, and now Norris is in a kid's book. This is going to be the second book Ben Beagle rides. He rides in a crate to the vet, he rides on the gator, he rides a lot of different places. And Brandon's art will work with that where Donna's wouldn't, because of the nature of the machinery. He nails machinery very well. In a little boy fashion, if you will, and stereotype or not, I had a tomboy older daughter who went to Iraq and her brothers didn't, so we don't hold the stereotypes, but there's still reasons why they are there. And then the last book in the series of 3 will be Ben Beagle Makes a New Friend. And this is when he's bigger than the Labrador pup. And you know how that story's going to end. So the getting prepared, the making decisions, investing in yourself, and knowing what you've got to do. The biggest part of it is marketing. Be out there, be available. Small Business Saturday, I went to Merle Norman. Sharon's in our BPW, and we all kind of back each other. I got this bag on sale 2 days later, but it's also big enough for 2 books and 2 coloring books, and it's waterproof for the winter. So I have this bag in there. I'm talking to someone in Kroger's and said, "Where's your book out? Where can I get it?" I said, "I've got some right here." I sold a book and a coloring book in Kroger's on the way to get something else. I will take Ben with me wherever I go. Market is all the time. Everywhere you go, what you do. And you represent your product, whether it's the heating and cooling or whatever. So does that mean I have to dress up all the time? No, I was Miss Frog Lady. I am Miss Donna. I am Miss Pockets. So I can be as goofy as I want to be. There are doctors and lawyers in this town whose most fondest memory of me is they felt frogs sitting on my head. It doesn't take away from the persona of professional author or business person, as long as you carry it with joy. And I quote books wherever I go. Sometimes I just quote titles, but enthusiasm does make the difference. The power of positive thinking still exists. You can check out both those books at your local public library. I plug it every once in a while. I came here in 1974 to be the assistant librarian at the library when it was in the Doolin building downtown. And I worked there until I had Susan. And then I stayed home and I substituted for 8 years. My husband was fixing to get laid off. He says, "What are we going to do about insurance and all that other stuff?" I said, "Honey, I'll get a job. It's not that big a deal." So I went out and got one the first time at Walmart. Discount card, yay! 3 miles from the house, yay! 3rd shift. Elementary school, my kids got up when their Aunt Carolyn, y'all know the veterinarian, Monroe Slaton, his wife got up at 6, called my kids. Susan answered the phone. She got her brothers up. They were sitting on the front porch, if it was warm enough, ready to go to school. I picked them up when I got off work at 7, picked them up at 7:15, drove them to school, went back by Walmart to get the family groceries, and came home to take a nap because I was vice president of the PTA that year and room mother for 3 rooms. So that was already planned before all the other stuff came, and I don't usually turn loose of stuff. I just go a little harder. And so, but the networking, the connections, being where things are, I would love to go to more chamber events, but a lot of the daytime things happen when I have to fix lunch for my husband, because one of the other things I did when I retired was promise him lunch. He works 2nd shift, so all the evening meetings in the world I go to, but he expects lunch. And usually we have farmhands, so I may have to do something for 2 other organizations and still fix country covered food for 5 to 7 people at the same time while I'm not there. I can tell you crock pots work wonders. But if you have a plan, if you're willing to invest in yourself, and if you're enthusiastic about what you're doing, you can go anywhere with this. I fully intend to make this a 3-book series. I don't know how much money I will make. At this stage in my life, that's not the point. The point is to get kids excited about reading. So many books this day and time are about what I call art, And if you look at the award winners and what they're talking about on TV, it's not the life our kids live. It's New York, California, big city stuff. That's where the big market is. That's where the big publishers market to. If I sell books only from Indiana to Florida, an occasional one to a friend out of state, that's fine with me. If I sell all I've got and get to print again, I will go woo-hoo, big time. However, I intend to really, really market in the places that I expect that book to do well. I will ask about farm stores and equipment stores. I will go to the Beagle trials in Butler County and places like that, because those people need ordinary books. Their kids need the happy, ordinary books that rhyme, that do a little of the Dr. Seuss. It's fun to read again. It's not about bullies, it's not about biracial, it's not about whatever. It's just about the beagle and the bunny and the nap. And what's not to like about a beagle and a bunny and a nap? I sell it direct for $20 and the coloring book for $5. On the credit card, on my website, I have the full tax added. That's not getting me back the exact expense of credit cards or whatever, but I'm still making more that way than I will for every one the publisher sells at a trade show or Amazon sells at Amazon, because they get that 55% off the top to do with whatever they will. And as long as I'm selling it right now as a signed copy from the author, then I do that way. Whenever Amazon decides to cut rate the price, I'll have to choose. If I'm still selling it because they got it from the author and they got to take their picture on the phone from the author, then I can still sell it for $20. I may have to go down to $15. I might not make $1 a book. I'm at a stage in my life where my kids are all 3 income producing. They have promised to buy Mama a cell phone into whenever I can't use it anymore, because I did them when they were 16. So when I'm 96, if I'm still talking, they're supposed to get me a cell phone. But other than that, I'm at a place in my life where if I just share the joy of the book and don't make money off of it, I'm not trying to outdo somebody else's business. I'm out to enthuse children into reading for fun. And my mission will be accomplished if that happens. And I've already had a friend on Facebook to post her little twin boys reading to their little sister. And to me, that's what it's all about. Anybody got questions?
Absolutely. Okay, first of all, going back to the publishing part, you had mentioned this to me before, and I think you touched on it a little bit here, but what is the difference between, for an author? I think we kind of know what the difference is, but what is the difference for an author between self-publishing, which is very doable now, and going with the publishing company that is, that's a cool thing that they would actually, to pick your book up. But, and one more thing with that. Oh, wait, go ahead with that.
Okay. Heart to Heart Publishing is in Morgantown. She has won numerous awards, and most of her books do. She has a level of professionalism she expects. So when you're endorsed by a publisher, as opposed to just getting on one of those online things and printing 50 copies yourself and then selling it, and everybody can tell the name of your publishing company is your front door or something like that. For selling to schools and public libraries, it makes a world of difference. For getting reviews and those sorts of things, it still makes a level of difference. Plus, you get professional help with things that you might not already know about. There are some form things that you can actually do, and if it's generated mostly by text rather than pictures and illustrations, I would tell you, if you want 50 copies for your family of a memoirs of grandma or whatever, go ahead and do one of those, if you're not planning on marketing it somewhere else. If you belong to a trade group, Masseuse Anonymous or whatever, if you have tips,
We don't talk about that one.
if you have tips and things that can be used, if somebody in your profession endorses it, and you sell it, then would you be more respected if there was somebody else's name was printed by you? That's the bottom line. If you sell it to the publishing house that's like Rand McNally or one of those, Random House, or the people who do those kinds of big things, then you sell them your words and they get to do anything they want to with it. And the sad part about that is they're going to sell it in the way that best suits them. So my cute little beagle could turn out to be a caricature and look ugly. And that could be what's in New York right now. And I know because the last year I was a children's library in 2007, the book that won the Caldecott was a cute little story about missing grandma. It got turned into a biracial featurette by an illustrator that the publishing company picked. Everybody knows it won the Caldecott. Nobody even knows the author's name anymore. Okay, so you have to weigh what it means to you as opposed to what you're going to do with it. I'm sure that the author got good residuals for the fact that once it's a Caldecott, every school library in the United States is going to have to buy one. Okay? If he was in it for the money and not telling his story, then he aced that one. But if that had been my story, I would have been so mad.
And your publishing, the way you do it, it sounds like you paid for the first run. And with something like that, the way you did it, is there a minimum run that you have to buy? Is there,
well, generally, you can do a 500 run with this publisher, and the more you get at the time, the cheaper the wholesale is for printing one run of anything. It just, if you, the same thing, if I was printing 100 at American Printing or Sprint Print, it would cost me almost the same amount as 500 cost. But when I got 500, it suddenly became inexpensive enough not only for me to give away to kids that I know need it, but also to use as a marketing tool. On the other hand, as a companion to the book and as a gift set, it's still worth $5. And it has all the same features that, so it could be sold in bookstores or whatever because it has the barcode and all those kinds of things. You have to make that decision up front in your ability to market it, because the first book that you put out, Barnes & Noble and Amazon are going to offer, but they're not going to push it. You may get, I'll get to go to Bowling Green and sign at the Barnes & Noble at Bowling Green and maybe a few other places, but they're not going to put me on the Today Show. If I give them my words and they play with it, they will put somebody into that. Linda Hopkins does some marketing. She has a newsletter and some other stuff, but it's, again, mostly on me to do the marketing, to create the demand for it. And I'm ahead of the game on some people because I've been professionally in the book business since 1974. I have 2 library professional groups I belong to, Kentucky Library Association and the Special Library Association, statewide and nationwide. I've been past president of the Kentucky Storytelling Association 2 times, and I have this beautiful picture of me that looks better than I usually do because Jenna Munger took it. And this is one of those things you get to do with stuff like this is when you are a little bit more in control, you can award your friends and enemies with a little thing. Now, one of the things that Linda's group does, which works well for this book, is it has hidden hearts because she's Heart to Heart Publishing. So on each little page, you will find somewhere, and some of them are really hidden and some of them are not, because this is marketed ages 3 through 9. So there'll be 1 or 2 that kind of really fade into the distance and all the hearts are not white or red. So you might miss some of them the first go round, but there's, Mark Adams told us that if you have the added value in the back, which is like accelerated reader questions, you'll market better to schools if you have that ready to go. that was a no-brainer for me because librarians do that kind of thing after you read the story anyway. So picking up on the memories, and I put memories of Ben Beagle, and that's for all age groups. So these are things that you want to remember about Ben. And if it happens to help you with this, so what? Now, the pictures in the process, Donna has a good feel for art and color, but she didn't really get into my book the way I wanted her to, so when we got to the end of her part, she didn't have what I called a cover photo. And this was where the publisher came in. If I had commissioned an artist myself without a publisher, she knew how to coax. She also had on her network that publishes books with her a graphic designer who took Ben out of one picture and put him in the background for another and fixed me a cover. So both the background and Ben are there, but the big Ben was not anywhere in the book. And sometimes you communicate exactly what you want, and sometimes you can't because the other person is not receiving what you're giving because they already have their mind made up. Anybody ever been there, done that? So those kinds of things are there. This one, the artwork was a little different because he had been to our house, he knew my boys, he knew the dog. So, and he also knows equipment, which again, I don't think Donna will in that regard. So it was a little, we did this one in 3 weeks by email and telephone. This one took 4.5 months by email and telephone and a 3-way conferences and all that other kind of stuff to get it honed to a place where it was. So all of that took more time than it did for me to write the original rhyme. Go ahead.
Tell us about why you don't bring Ben with you, because that would just make my life so complete. But I've heard this, but I don't know that anyone else knows about this. But. Okay,
Ben is exactly what the book says he is. He hunts. If you let him off of the chain or out of the house, he won't come for a cuddle. He won't wait to be petted. He goes 90 miles an hour. In fact, you could just about, in a cartoon style, see him spinning his wheels on the sidewalk to get across the driveway to the first thicket. We live in the middle of 500 acres, east of Madisonville, behind Cimarron. Have no neighbors in any direction. The house is 0.8 of a mile from the mailbox. There's no traffic. I still have to watch which days I turn him loose. We have friends that deer hunt. We have equipment on the farm. And you cannot see him from the top of a tractor. And he will not look both ways when he's hunting a rabbit. So whether he crosses the driveway or whatever, just getting him to Jenna's backyard for a picture he was pulling. I was scared to death. If I lost him in town, he knows absolutely nothing about what to do there. And there's enough woods directly behind her house that he would have gone rabbit hunting, and I physically can't catch up with him. He was not trained to be a house pet. He was trained to go hunting. Actually, he wasn't trained to do that. That's inherent. You just sit him outside and he goes. But thanks to her pictures, American Printing is fixing me one of those little Elvis cutouts so that the kids can then hold him for a picture when I go to do book signings.
You might have to get a body double or something. That would be a big draw.
The Ben would.
On the font that you used, was that a standard font you was able to pick up?
It's some kind of, I think, American Gothic. I would not have thought of that name, but you know how Microsoft is, it's whatever, but the difference in having that A, you just scroll down your Microsoft thing, the actual publisher may have used a different one because they have a different setup, and I bought the Adobe InDesign, but I have not learned to play with it yet, because when I get home at 11 o'clock at night from one civic meeting or another, I'm just not ready to learn that yet. So, but anyway, the basic Microsoft Word program has this basic style in there where the letters are that way, but You just have to scroll through till you see where they're placed that way. And I believe it's something gospel. I'm not sure what the first word is, but I can send you the link.
No, that's okay, I just.
But that's a world of difference between that and a book that's kind of like scribbly script. Now, I'm a senior with bifocals. I don't have any grandkids yet, so I'm gonna be at least 4 or 5 years older before I probably do, because nobody's engaged yet either. I got 3 kids. Now, and this I love to tell on them. This I love to tell on them. My dad was born in 1922. His mother was 34 when she had him. She was 32 when she married. She was old maid on the shelf. I was called old maid when I was 25 and a librarian, and I hadn't married yet. I didn't have my first child till I was 30. So they're all fine. My daughter's 31, the twins are 29. I'll be fine if they wait. Although I would just, whatever it is. But I'm doing all my volunteering right now, so when the first one gets here, I'm not gonna be an officer in anything. I'm gonna leave at the first sign, Mama, help! And I'm gonna go hold the baby. So I have been officers and volunteers in about 8 or 10 different civic organizations. I love them. I love the people. I love the contributions they do for the community. But I totally understand when I ask for volunteers sometime where people say, no, I've got grandkid duty that day. I totally understand. And I want to read then to someone small myself.
Hang on, I wrote it down so I don't forget. Okay, I do have some little secret massage therapist groups, and if we get on there and say, hey, one of my clients has a really cool book, you need to get this. A lot of them are out of town. I have, a lot of us have lots of friends out of town that we would like to recommend a book to. Would you rather, do we want to put this on film? Would you rather them go through Amazon or contact you and you can, okay. And
Before Christmas.
You will ship?
I ship, and I will ship medium price in the form after Christmas. But from now till Christmas, I do priority mail only. I don't want it lost. I don't want somebody disappointed before Christmas. It's marked as $6. It's $5.75 for a flat rate mailer, which will hold one of these and a book. And I sent it to North Carolina, I got there in 3 days. I sent it to Athens, Alabama, I got there in 2 days. I sent it to Virginia, and she just wanted one of these. Now, you know what happened to me on that one? This is a $4.95 book I'm charging $5 for. Shipping was $6. Okay, but generally, I market the two together, and that would have evened out. But she's friend of Brand, and this is part of me starting out customer service. She basically got her book for free because I mailed it to her. Because if she sells one book in Virginia, because Brandon drew the pictures, then I have another network that I didn't have before in the quantity that I bought.
Businesswoman,
Okay, so what you give away ink pens in your business, you buy ads in the paper, whatever. I am promoting Ben's story with a tool. I could give it to every teacher in first grade, and it would not actually hurt my bottom line if the books sell afterwards. And that's, you have to consider what you're going to market with. Would you market with something else? I'm not going to market with toys made in China. I'm just not. But a book drawn by an MAHSS alumni, printed in Madisonville, I can do that. And I can give it away without a guilty conscience. Because in one of those kinds of things, like you do the pay it forward or donate to Habitat for Humanity or whatever, reading that important. Getting them excited is that important.
Are you taking bookings to go to schools, like maybe in Evansville too? Would you go to
Yes.
Evansville schools? Okay.
I will go anywhere within a 3-hour driving distance, north or south. And I'm actually going to Athens, Alabama on December 18th. But in addition to the public library there, who had me come do storytelling one time, and the endorser on the back is the children's librarian, I I have a cousin there with 4 little kids, 2 of which I've never held. So, I'm gonna make a family visit of it, and it won't be a tax deductible trip, but if they want me to sign books, I'll sign books.
Make it a tax deductible trip. You're gonna-
Well, I'm going to spend time with cousins.
Okay, we need to talk. We're gonna-
That's, I
You
think
need
I.
to read J.K. Lasseter's book, and he'll tell you that.
Oh, I know the ins and outs of those particular things. I've been doing the farm taxes for 40 years. And we do that kind of stuff on the farm to a certain degree, but again, it's like so many things. I donate a lot of cash things to church. I don't always write a check. It's not to me about what the government knows I do or don't do. And there are some things that are just here with me. I will manage to cover the other things. And my publisher told me 3 times, you get you one of those logs and write it down. Every time you go to town, sell a book, it's a book trip. Okay? I live 12 miles out.
Mileage adds up fast on your taxes.
I have not come to town once that I haven't sold at least 1 book. The trip to Kroger was on top of something else, but I actually that day did have a stop at American Printing to approve the proof for the cardboard bin that's going to the bookstops. Okay, so Kroger's on my way home, physically on my way home, and I sold a book, so I got a twofold purpose. But the longest part of that trip was specifically book business, so I have no problem with that one. But if I do Historical Society for 2 hours and BPW for 2 hours and something, I'm going, do I really want to keep up with this? I have to break it into categories, and I'm going like, I'm old. Maybe next month, but not this month. I'll start January 1 fresh. And yes, I will take suggestions from any of you on how to business or market better. I enjoyed coming last week. Would say go back to Ben Franklin and Dale Carnegie. And if you feel yourself running out of gas, remember, enthusiasm makes the difference.
Does anybody have any other questions? It's 8:26, so we need to.
Have you ever visited, all your library experience, have you ever visited the Library of Congress?
Yes.
Cool.
I have been in the back door. I have been in the rare book room.
Wow.
One of the storytelling people at the National Storytelling Network told me how to go in as a researcher instead of a tourist. So I went in and signed up for a Library of Congress library card that was good for 5 years. I had to fill out a form. They had to see my ID. You have to leave all of your suitcase, your briefcase and everything in a locker, and they give you a little key. You get to use their notepad and pencil, no ink pens, so you don't accidentally write in a historic book and all those kinds of things. So.
Well, thank you very much, Ms.
Thank you.
Donna. We appreciate it. She's my 9 o'clock appointment, so I have to keep things moving. And you're here, you have books with you,
I
right?
have books with me in the bag
And
and
so-
another case of 38 in the car in case anybody. They are also on consignment at Reedmore, at the gift horse and the hub. So if you have friends who have not seen me somewhere and they want a book, locally, they do not have to pay shipping, they just gotta go to a store.
Cool, so everyone, please, put this out in your network and let everyone know that, we have a local author with a great book and we need to promote it. I'm getting some for for some of my.
You have a signed coloring
people.
book with my contact
Christmas.
information on the back of it. For coming this morning, everybody who didn't get up, remind them next week they missed something.
They did.
I'll color it.
And I wanted to let everybody know, next week, our speaker is Sean Jones. He you just told me and I forgot, mining. He does mining samples. Natural RMS is his company, and it's sampling of things in mines. How about
Rick Whitlock's son.
Okay, and he is Rick Whitland's son. And then the next 2 weeks after that, one is Christmas week and the other is New Year's week, so we will not be meeting again after next week until the new year. So next week, let's go out with a bang. How about that? So we'll see you next week, and thanks everybody for coming, and Next time, bring a friend, and we have lots of openings. We have a whole year ahead of us coming up. We've got some exciting people that we're bringing in, but there's still a lot of people in town who we haven't heard from, and a lot of good stories out there that we need to know about and promote. So have a good week, everybody. Thanks.
I am